Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Today is July 8th, 2024, and welcome. We are broadcasting live in the United Public Radio Network, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. We are also broadcasting live on social media, and this show is brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. If you're in the comments, say hello. Let me know you're here so I can talk to you and acknowledge that you exist. All right. I'm your host, Ryan Stacey. I'm a licensed private investigator. As the Director of Investigations for the Experiencers Support Association, I use my investigative skills to dive headfirst into the hidden mysteries of UFOs, paranormal activity, and consciousness phenomena. So thank you for joining me today. Full disclosure, it's another hot one in the attic. The AC is off, so you guys can hear it, but I'm going to be sweating, and you're going to have to deal with it. Last week's episode, last minute, sorry, guys. It was Canada Day. And I had a complete oversight. So the episode that I planned on doing last week, I'm doing today. We did do a replay. So now we have that. So on holidays and stuff like that, expect a replay from me now that we have that figured out with the network. And you can thank them for that, because if it was up to me, I probably would have just had no show for you. But they pleaded and said that it's good for the viewer. So we did that. So that's what we're going to do. So moving forward. And the episode before that, we talked about some cases. So now we're into the visual evidence database, where we're going to explore some cases that have already been done while I'm working on new cases in the background. But before we get into that, I need to update you on what's going on in Tessa.
Tessa news and updates.
All right, so I'm not sure if I mentioned this on last episode, but we do have a new EA facilitator named Susan Dismore. We are going to be announcing that stuff in great detail in the next coming weeks. My MUFON Under Siege Part 5 has been published. There's been, as of this morning, there's been some confusion around the information that's been made publicly available. So using the emails and the permissions that we were given that were saved, we published as is. Since then, obviously there's been some chatter with MUFON here, and some things want to be changed. So we acknowledged that today, and we made some changes for privacy issues. But even though when we published it before, it wasn't a concern that could trace to anybody unless they have the information. But there was a little bit of a privacy concern with MUFON. So we decided to assist them, even though we didn't have to, because we had their permission documented. We decided that we would do what we could to help them, because we do eventually want to work with MUFON if we can. Particularly, I want to work with MUFON Canada, because I'm, Canadian, and that's my old crew. All right. So we did, do what we needed to do to redact all of the personal information, even though it was already redacted, to help make them happy. So if you guys are watching this, we've done that. Check your email. We've responded to your plea in due time. But if there's any other issues, continue to work with us. And as a friendly tip to those who may be involved in controversial activities, if we request to speak to you, do your research before we publish. It's not my fault that you didn't research who the Experiencers Support Association was before you answered my questions. It's not my fault that you didn't know who I was before you responded to those questions. You have to do that due diligence. But I understand where you're coming from. I understand what's going on. So here we are. Okay. So other than that, there's nothing really new on the surface for the Experiencers Support Association. Let me see my Facebook page. Let me see if I can go back. So on my Facebook page, we were just talking about these episodes that come in. I had a little bit of scenario with my kid. She pointed out that there was a lie in the word alien, and that got me thinking. So you can check that out on on my Facebook page. And for those of you, oh yeah, there was an interesting video I shared about this theory that Mr. Bean was an alien. So you want to head over to my Facebook page and you can see that. And I also got this really cool blanket. I posted that, and here we are live. So you're up to speed. So if you guys are interested in that, I'll put that in the comments for you guys if you guys want to follow me on the Facebook page. Hi, Lisa. I see you. Hello. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Also, if you guys are interested, I do have a Patreon page. I talk about it. You can join for free. But what I've been doing is I've been posting behind the scenes stuff, as well as the stuff you see on my other social medias. But you're going to get some behind the scenes stuff and get to know me. There's also, for $5 Canadian, it's probably like $1 American, you guys can get a one-on-one chat with me if you guys want to talk to me more often. Okay, so that's there. And this tier is also available for those who are interested in being part of my investigation team. So I'm going to put that in the comments. And then, we're going to get into the cases promised for today's show. Let me just see here. Catherine Grace, thank you for liking and loving. It appears you did both, one or the other. Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's get into it. So last week, we went to our visual evidence database. You go to investigations and visual evidence, you're going to see cases that have been published. I am in the middle. I do have a to-do list to revamp some of these points to make it a little bit more cleaner because my investigation process has changed quite a bit. Oh yeah, speaking on that, behind me here, my 2 published books. We recently changed the name of that. I'm just waiting on Amazon to approve the ebooks, and then we'll announce that. It's a better branded name so people can find it. When I called it the Canadian Current Event Survey, I thought it was catchy because it stands for CSIS, but it's really hard to find, and I wasn't quite sure if it would pick up. So now I'm about to write my 3rd and 4th book, and a lot of are interested in that. So I've rebranded it. All right. It's let me see. It's EFTN is the new abbreviation. I'll give you that little nugget. EFTN. Okay. See if you can guess what that means. All right. So last week's episode, we were covering the far East Coast, Newfoundland and right? Nova Scotia. Newfoundland, yeah. And then today we are going to be, I think, aerial activity. So let me just uncheck these things to make sure I have the right things selected in our database. All right. So I think we're moving a little bit east here. Sherbrooke. Did I do that one? Yeah. I think the ones I wanted to talk about was 64 and 50. Yes, so these are beings observed. But before that, let's talk quickly about the strange lights in the sky in Sherbrooke, Quebec. So that's actually aerial activity. So we'll be right back for that.
Aerial activity, sensory display.
Okay, so if you right-click that or click on it, it will bring you to the page for that post. This is a pilot report audio, Unusual Lights over Quebec on February 12, 2023. This audio recording came from a journalist named Daniel Otis. Him and I do often share our investigative approach on this phenomenon, and hat tip to him for covering this. And then there's a transcript. So let me just read that to you guys. Or actually, you know what? We can listen to it because there's an audio. So how about we just listen to it? We'll sit back and listen to this audio here. Okay, so it says here, on February 12, 2023, at approximately 0800 Zulu, several aircraft near Sherbrooke, Quebec reported seeing 2 or 3 very strange lights in the sky, high above the flight paths. The reports appeared in Transport Canada's online aviation incident database on February 21. The audio recording with air traffic controllers in Montreal was taken from liveatc.net, and the audio clip has been edited for length. Okay, so let's enjoy that. If you can't hear it, let me know. Hi, Lisa. I'm just seeing your email. I didn't realize you couldn't hear it, so it says no sound. So I apologize for that. Okay. I thought you could hear it because you heard the video on here last time. So hopefully everybody could hear that. If you can't, the transcript is right here. You can read it. Essentially, more than one person had seen the object. They didn't want to make a report. They didn't think it was significant because nothing came on the radar. It's quite impressive piece of information because it documents that they've seen something at a very high altitude, and this has been added to the database for that reason. All right, Lisa, I'll have to go back and check the play to make sure that it hasn't been heard by everybody. Hopefully it's just, unfortunately it's on your end, but I'm hoping that it was just you, because everybody else who's listening, over the 50,000 that are listening right now, I really hope that somebody heard it. Okay, so let's go back here. So now we're going to go into our beings observed. So Lisa, do you hear the music with my little jingles there? So I'm going to play the beings observed video. It's only 8 seconds. Tell me if you hear this music.
Beings observed, intent unknown.
Okay, so these two cases, beings observed, we have one that's 64 and one that is 50. May 16th, 2019 and June 29th, 2013. So let's do the oldest one first. And that's this guy here. So I'm going to open that one up. I will put it in the comments below. Okay, so Lisa did hear that, but you didn't hear the video that I played while I was on the website. All right, I'm going to have to fact check that. All right, thank you, Lisa. Sorry, guys, if I lost you. Hopefully you come back. Okay, so this case here, beings observed. If you guys are unfamiliar with why I categorize things the way that I do, you need to check out the Ultra Spectrum classification system episode that I did. I believe that's episode 3 or 4. Okay, Lisa, I'm going to play this video. It's good. I can talk over it, but I need to know if you hear the music, because I played these videos in previous episodes and nobody said anything. But this is in New Liskeard, Ontario, Canada, June 29th, 2013. For those in radio, there are visuals, but I will do my best to explain to you what's being shown on the screen, just in case you can't hear it. Lisa, please let me know. No one was harmed during this experience. I know. Aggressive. So I'll read the other notes here. Lisa, if you can you just let me know? Did you hear me, and did you hear the music? No sound, voice. Okay, it worked in previous weeks, so I don't know why it's not working right now, but I appreciate you doing this sound check with me live right now. Okay, so here is the original witness statement. I'll read this out to you guys, okay? So myself and 2 other people were together for a local event called Bikers Reunion. We were having drinks and catching up. I let our dog out of the house because he was anxious at the door, and the dog jolted off the deck and ran towards the bushes barking. This loud, shrill scream was heard along with the bushes rustling and footsteps. I could see our white dog moving through the bush line, and it wasn't fast enough to get this creature. This scream was nothing like anything I have ever heard before. I could discern the creature was a bipedal by the sound of the movement. I'll give you some context here. This experiencer has a background, a significant background in wildlife. So they are an expert testimony in this. So this scream and movement of the creature stopped suddenly, and the dog came back to sit by our side shortly afterward. All who witnessed were astonished and perplexed at what we had witnessed and heard. It remains unexplainable to us. None of us visibly saw the creature, but I have gotten a psychic impression of it at a recent recalling of this event, which led me to this to a description. I'm unsure if this is a cryptid or any value. All right. So lots to unpack in this image here. So there's witnesses, a dog had responded, there was sound, there was no visuals, and she does mention psychic impressions. So there's some psychic ability here that may be in play. So we don't know if this object was actually seen in the physical or in the metaphysical. We don't know at this time. So this is the original drawing, and we used that in the video earlier to recreate the event. You can get more details about this in our data report. That's if you go to investigations annual data set. So that year is 2020. So you'll see that one in the 2021. So this experiencer requested an investigating report. We've done that. I have more details on that somewhere in my files. It is a female. Obviously, it said she, blood type A positive, blue eyes. We're just still measuring what type of people have these events, and particularly in the psychic events, because a lot of these things could be seen in the mind, but still exist in the ultra spectrum, what you guys call the ether, or the area in which source comes from, perhaps. So she had 3 witnesses. She felt positive about it, considering that's pretty good. No injuries to her or the dog or anything like that. But this particular event took place June 29th, 2013. The experiencer came forward 7 years later in December 17th, 2020. Okay. The event happened at 1 o'clock in the morning. The time zone of the event was Eastern time. It lasted 5 minutes. It happened at night. It appears to be an isolated incident at the time that the experiencer made her report. She has previously reported. There's no third-party involvement, so she never reported anybody else. The only evidence provided is analogical, which is a drawing. Evidence rating was based on 3. So if you want to understand how that works, you go to investigations and you look at the ultraspectrum classification system. And look at our evidence rating. So evidence rating drawing only. So I categorize it as fair. Okay. This category in the ultraspectrum classification system is beings observed, paracryptid type, subtype is 5. So when you go to the ultraspectrum classification system here and you look at beings observed, you have paracryptid here, and the subtype is 5. So we call it a hybrid. Okay. And the reason why it was classified as a hybrid, I can tell you, is because it's bipedal, but it also appears to have webbed toes and webbed feet. So I'm classifying that as hybrid. Let me know if you agree with that or disagree in the comments. Okay. If you disagree, tell me why, and what using the ultraspectrum classification system on our website, what you think it should be classified as, based on this information alone. Archetype also could be extraterrestrial because it does resemble that of a gray, but we don't know. We don't want to put these labels on it because we don't have that information. This is unidentified. I cannot figure out what this would be. I do recall speaking to our resident cryptozoologist. Let me see here. Alex Mistretta, who just also published an article here about the last hominid. He was of the belief that this was very similar to what we call the Dover demon. Let me see if I can Dover demon. Find a quick picture up here. And it does have a very close resemblance. And I would agree to him that it fits within that classification. Okay? That could be what we're experiencing here. Who knows? It was uninvited. Evidence level is 4. And the evidence type is A. So for that, in the classification system, we have our levels here. So level 4 is corroboration. And what was the subtype? Pardon me. Was A? Okay. So then that means 2 to 3 witnesses. So in order for you to get a level 4, you have to have all the levels below it. In the Hynek Valley classification system, you can have any one of them. And it brought the illusion that the higher the number was more significant, but it could still be a level 4 and not be valid or not be anything of to woo about. With my system, it's based on the compound, so I've reordered the way that's done. So we have level 1, the method. So she obviously heard it, she saw it, perhaps it might have been in her mind as well. So there's evidence of level 1 there. Trace evidence, she's provided a drawing, so that gives us the level 2. She was able to provide documentary evidence because we have the report, so that makes it level 3. And then there was witnesses, which makes it level 4. To get it to a level 5, there would have to be some evidence that proves back and forth communication with validation that it's intelligently responding. Just saying, hey, can you make this light move if you're doing an EVP and the light blows out? That's not a level 5. That could be wind. We have to rule out the fact that it wasn't wind before we can classify it as a level 5. Okay. So that's where we're at with that. So have I put it? Yeah, put it in the comments below if you guys want to take a quick look at that. Where we're at, 5:30. All right. So then we're on to the other case here. Beings observed, and that is number 50. And I will put this in the comments below for you guys to observe that in great detail. All right, Lisa, I'm going to skip the video on this one. I'm just going to, with the audio, I'm going to skim by and read it and narrate myself just because of what you've told me. So this one here is UPR 2019-0050. So you can find that in the 2019 report, details on that. So if you go to our annual data sets, I'll show you. There's more information here in these ones to give you more information about what's going on. So that came from these reports. And that's how you can find that. So I'll put that in the comments as well in case you guys want a link to that. And here we go. So in this video, I'll put it and let it play here. So it's drawing. So you got this drawing here. For those in radio, I'm recreating the event to kind of help explain to those who may have seen this, what's happened. So it says, on May 16th, 2019 in Connaught, Ontario, Canada, an experiencer was about to close the bathroom door for a shower when she saw this being in the distant doorway. All right, have a look at that. All right. And we're going to move on to the next slide as it's drawing it. So, sorry, Lisa, I got to narrate it for the radio. So this being had no visible neck, and the light from the kitchen could not be seen through it. So this is the original experiencer drawing. There's a bigger visual of that below. I'll show you in a second. All right, so we're going to move along here. And then it just does its, and then what else do we say? This being was seen for approximately 30 seconds before vanishing in front of the experiencer's eyes. And vanishing is a word that they chose to use. So if you've seen something like that, please make a report. If you don't know how to make a report, you can go to our reporting system at the top, submit a report here, right-hand corner, this purple button. It says submit a report. You'll see it there on our website. You can also go to investigations and you can go reporting system right here, okay, if you're looking for that. So I'll share that link in the comments below. We've recently discovered our reporting system didn't send the emails out, so we've gotten that fixed. So if you've reported in the past and run that email or haven't got a response, send us an email so we can confirm we have your report and it wasn't lost. Okay, so continuing on here. This event happened so the witness statement was collected May 16th, 2019, but I believe the event occurred. Oh, so I got the report the same day that the event occurred. So that's good. That's perfect in terms of a timeline with collecting evidence. So the original witness statement says, I was speaking with my partner who was in the other room. I was preparing to take a shower as I'm holding the door to the washroom. I see this large figure approximately 5 inches to 6 feet tall, 5'11" to 6 feet tall, standing approximately 5 feet away from me. It has no visible face, just an outline of a humanoid figure. It was solid and had fat features with no neck visible, but I could see arms and legs. When I blinked or looked away, it vanished. So here's the original sketch. Okay. And she wrote dark figure sketch. Here's a pillar, kitchen light, solid black. So a lot of times experiencers remember specific and odd details because that's what stands out to them. It looks normal, but this particular thing was odd. And I like when I get that. Even though it's a drawing, it's an interesting characteristic that can be compared and contrasted in the future. Okay. A single case on its own is not going to have enough evidence to be a smoking gun. You have to build your case. You have to take pieces of evidence from each of these cases and compound it. It's called the compare and contrast method. So pillar, there's a sink here, so a bit of that. And when we do these recreation drawings, all we're simply doing is just trying to add a little bit of color and light to it and depth to give you a better understanding. And my hope is with these videos is that if you've seen it, you can make a report as well. At the same time, if you've seen it and you're an expert and you know what it is, we want that feedback as well. I'm only as good as what I've learned, and I'm always learning. I'm not an expert in anything other than collecting evidence. This phenomenon is a learning curve for all of us. Okay, so this is part of the Ultra Spectrum report, the experiencer report, number 50. This person's already in the survey. Experiencer ID is 11. It's also the same experiencer as the previous report that we did. Okay. Female, so you're going to see some characteristics here that are constant, but I have that hidden data, that particular data saved in the case file. So I'm just going to zoom in here so you can kind of see this a bit better. Notice on the screen it's a bit small. So feeling was negative. So if we compare this to the other one, she felt positive, but this one she felt negative. Of course, she's in a vulnerable state. She's about to get in a shower and getting relaxed, and all of a sudden she saw that. I know through the investigation process, I do remember questioning whether or not the steam played an effect on that, but we weren't able to rule that out because she's gotten in the shower many times, never seen it, so it may not have been a relevant thing. No injuries, of course, thankful. Happened at 9:30 p.m. at night. Lasted a minute as an isolated event. There's only one person seen, previously reported. So there's been some credibility that's been added here. Did not contact third party analogical evidence, so level 3, so that's fair. Beings observed, apparition is the type that we classified this one as because it just seems to resemble what appears to be an apparition. And how do we classify that? So let's go to our reporting system here. Investigations, reporting system. So when you make a report here, and you get down to the end, when you choose your experience, let's see here. So if you choose an apparition, it's defined as a term used to describe an anomalous experience characterized by an apparent perception of either a living being or an inanimate object without there being any material stimulus for such perception. So based on that definition is why we've classified it as such. If you agree with that, let me know. If you disagree, let me know. Tell me why. Curious to know. Subtype is 6. So let's go to a reporting system. Not a reporting system. Let's go to our database. Sorry. Since I flew my screen up, everything looks a little silly. So the classification system, subtype is 6. Let's find that here. Beings observed, apparition, so transmedium is what we classified that as. Okay. Shadow figure is the archetype. Interesting. Apparition, shadow figure. These are terms that a lot of that are from the language that is used by the experiencer. I categorize it as beings observed. Apparition gets me close to what I'm investigating, but the experiencer called it a shadow figure. It's very important to understand that just, these labels and stuff can very well be the same thing. The other one was extraterrestrial in terms of an archetype, but it was still a being observed, right? So a lot of these groups have subgroups that we need to pay attention to. Disposition unidentified, I don't know what that is. I can't explain that one away. And if I did, I could say that the experiencer didn't have that experience, but then how do I know that? I don't know this, right? This was an extreme close experience. So an extreme close experience, according to our classification system, is less than 100 feet. No, extreme close. Yeah, less than 100 feet. Right there. Okay, for proximity. Uninvited, so they weren't meditating or sleeping or doing anything that willingly called it. The evidence is level 2. And that is just analogical. That's all we have. We don't have any back and forth conversation or anything else to bring it up to level. No witnesses. So we can't bring that up to a level 4 or level 5 under those rules that we put in place. Okay. And that's essentially it. So if these tags are there, if you want to see more, like beings observed, if you click this tag. How are we doing for time? We've got 20 minutes. I might have enough room to get another one in, unless there's some questions. Let me see here. Lisa says, I will never forget the shadow figure I've seen with the red glowing eyes. Yes. Those red eyes seem to be common. And so, you can use those tags at the bottom of these reports to see all these things in a quick visual. So here's one here with red eyes. Okay. That is common. And we'll notice that this particular being here doesn't have any eyes, but that doesn't mean they didn't exist. It just wasn't prominent in this experiencer's experience. Here we don't have any eyes that were drawn, so we don't know what color they were. This one has black eyes, which is part of that black-eyed children. An extraterrestrial over here. So there's all different types of beings observed, but they might be together. Brown eyes here, reptilian. These are all different types of beings that were observed. That's why they're in this category. If you want to call them extraterrestrials, you want to call them ghosts, you want to call them humanoids, you can call them whatever you want. But I'm not going to label them until I have enough evidence. The only constant is that a being was observed. And I have to look at the data that's collected based on your experience, to see what's in common, to figure out why you're able to see these. Maybe it has something to do with the A+ blood type. Maybe it has something to do with your eyes being blue, or maybe a combination of the two, or maybe it has to do with you being a female. Some of these demographics are important to understand the experience, to find out why they are having these experiences. But the common denominator is some sort of psychogenic activity, something of the mind. Right? They're able to see this place. This place exists, and there's energy, and there's information that's coming from it. And that's what we need to bring to the 3-dimensional. When we put these drawings out, brought it to life. And that's what we're trying to do, because I'm sure a lot of other people have seen it. Ultra Spectrum Paranormal Report, Canada, if you want to focus on Canada. Also, each experiencer has an ID number. So if you click on that, you will see, as I mentioned before, that these are the same experiencer. So then you can kind of get, a bit of a pattern here that shows this particular experiencer is experiencing similar phenomenon that might be within the psychogenic spectrum. Okay, we're talking psychics here. But even though we're within the being observed, so we're not investigating the psychic activity, this particular case is focused on the beings observed because there's material evidence that can be displayed, such as drawings, analogical evidence. That other deep dive stuff will come into the report writing when those reports are published. So I'll give you another example here. When we go into the data part, investigations, data sets. Lisa says, being psychic, perhaps. Yeah, Lisa, you could be on that spectrum of psychic activity, psychogenics. Also known as autism, apparently. Who knows? Are you autistic by any chance? I don't know if we ever talked about that. And that's personal information, so you don't have to share it on this. But that's something I've recently discovered in my research. She also said, or do these beings choose who can see them? Well, Lisa, we can talk about that for a little bit before we move on. Remove my screen here. Let's get. So, do these beings choose who can see them? Well, I'm sure if they have intelligence to them that they would want to make a choice. I'm sure it's possible. Were you chosen? That's possible. If you believe you were chosen, then there's nothing wrong with that. But just like anything else, if you choose to have a friend in the physical world and this friend tells you to do something, you need to make a conscious decision on whether or not that's good for your being and good for your life. Even though you're in your mental state, it could mentally impact you by having these visions or having these dreams or going through and diving deep into these things. So did they choose you? Well, if you can communicate with them, if you can see them, and you know that they see you, make a report, please. But use that time to communicate with them and ask them that question. Were you chosen? Why not? You're special. You're able to see it. You like to think that. Or was it a blanket, a blanket cast, and then all of a sudden you were just the only one that happened to receive that message? Similar to my experience. To my date, I'm the only one who saw that. Where it came from, I don't know. Maybe I intercepted something. So there is that psychogenic element that is in place. So did they choose? I can't say for sure. Being skeptical, hence the skeptical sleuth. But the next time you have that experience and you're able to talk to them, I would suggest that you ask those questions. Now, if you're chosen, you're getting into ego. What were you chosen for and why were you chosen? Right? Guardian angels and all these other things. So there's a lot of information here. There's belief there. So just got to be careful with the way we go down these rabbit holes. What can we prove? Well, I can't prove that, but maybe you can by asking. Okay. And I have to trust but verify. Just because you say that they told you that doesn't mean it's actually true. In the terms of collecting evidence, we got to trust the testimony of the experiencer, which makes it challenging, which is why I do these reports by removing all of those things that people judge. So that way you have just the verifiable evidence that's used to measure that you can do your own work. If you're interested in my work and my conclusions, then you go to this data set, you click on these reports, and then you can have a bigger understanding of what this collective data means. Okay, so you get a free copy of these on the data page on our website, experiencersupport.org. You can also purchase full manuals, full reports. There's some data sampling there from future years or years that occurred after the first report, and you can purchase those. If you click on those links, you will see the name of the new book because it's still being worked through Amazon, but I'm not going to release that here, but you can click it if you're curious. Zun Dragon says, just catching the end here. Hi, Ryan. Hi, good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Catch the replay. We did have a technical difficulty at the beginning. Apologize for that, but hopefully I was able to fix that. Lisa, let me know if the way I did that last report was any better. Since we have time, let's see here. Let's take another look at the visual database and see. I gotta zoom out here for my size here. Let's see what we can talk about. Oops. All right, so beings observed. Yeah, we have a couple beings observed here. So these are black-eyed children. I want to group those cases together for sure, because that's the same experience, same experiencer. So maybe I'll save that one for next week. Let me write that one down. So 31, so 19, yeah, 1931, and we have 32. All right, these occur. So we're going to talk about these ones here next week. I'll let Chris know when he makes the thing. I'm not going to talk about them today because we don't have enough time. But if you're curious, you want to check them out ahead of schedule, go ahead or tune in next week. But what we will do, since we have 13 minutes left, let me see if I can find one close by. We have an aerial activity. Let's talk about that one, number 13. All right, so we're going to get into our aerial activity here.
Aerial activity, sensory display.
Okay, so this one here, witness has experienced something on July 14th, 1981. Here's the video that goes with it. I'm just going to skim through to explain to you, show you that visual here. So on July 14th, 1981, in Espanola, Ontario, Canada, a witness has observed a very large orb move across the sky while laying on the grass near a baseball field. Let's keep going here. Gotta move this hand here so we can see what they wrote. A second orb appeared and met with the other. So it just illustrating that. This is how it moved, okay, in that image. And then the object then darted together before disappearing. Okay, so that's essentially what we showed in the video. So the report came in February 26, 2020. I was standing at the point for a period of 20 to 30 seconds. Let me just zoom in here. I could hear a faint pulsating, humming noise, and as I looked over my shoulder facing north, a second ball of light orb, if you will, appeared and slowly hovered back to where the first one was. It was like one stopped and the other kept going. Once the second one realized the first stopped, it came back. Then they did approximately 2 or 3 circles around each other and in a blink of an eye darted in the southwest direction. When you have a clear view of the sky with minimal clouds and something that can move out of sight, that fast is impossible. I'm thinking around 3 to 4 miles within 2 seconds. So we don't have a visual of that. We recreated that one. And I do know I do remember that this person was an engineer. So he's quite knowledgeable on how technology would work, which is why he considered this to be interesting. So he wanted to add it to the record, didn't want it investigated. This is case number 17. It's a male, blood type AB positive, hazel eyes. Was 11 years old at this event. Okay. Number of witnesses was 1, felt positive, no injuries to report. This happened in 81. Okay. If you want to know how old they are, you just simply take that age and subtract that from the year of the event, and then the year from today, and then you can get an idea of how old they were when they made this report, which makes them credible. It lasted a minute. It was isolated. Only one object was seen at first, or was reported to be seen, because it was hard to tell if it was one or not, 1 or 2. Had not reported before. Has given us analogical evidence. And that was a fair rating, sensory display, aerial activity. That's as far as we stop when we're classifying it. Type 2 is a light, I believe. Let's see here. So when we get into aerial activity, yeah, type 2 is light. Okay, based on how it was described. So the archetype is a UAP. It was unidentified, close experience, so that was less than 500 feet, but more than 100. It was uninvited and level 2 evidence. And that's where we're at with that. All right. So I'll leave it with that. That's where we're at. We'll get into those other cases. So the black-eyed children will be the topic of next week's show. Let's see if there's any other comments here. Lisa says, perhaps I don't fear the unknown. They see that and reveal themselves to me. And yes, you did good on the report. Thank you, Lisa. So you say perhaps, so you don't know. It's unclear. This is what you believe it to be. Gotta remember that. We don't know. But if that's your feeling and that's the way that you want to go with it, then just as long as you're feeling positive and as long as it's safe, then we can encourage interaction. Right? You got to protect yourselves as well. We don't know, right? But but you said, I don't fear the unknown. So you need to judge yourself a little bit here and be more confident. If you don't fear the unknown, then you don't fear the unknown, right? They say that fear the unknown. They see that and reveal themselves to me. The reason they're revealing themselves to you is unknown at this point, unless they tell you. Right. So ask those questions to these beings that you're observing. Okay. Lisa says, how long they are not negative like the MIB? They're terrible. How long they are not. Sorry, Lisa, I'm having a hard time breaking that one apart because I'm not quite sure where one sentence starts and the other ends. How long they are not negative like the MIB, they're terrible. So the MIB, men in black, could also be women in black, different can of worms. Are they the same beings? Are they working with the beings? We don't have that information to say for sure, unless we're talking specifically about what you know. So if you know that for sure, then that's fine. But the MIB, are they covering it up? Are they in cahoots? There's a lot of stuff that's a different can of freaking worms there. Lisa says, Ryan, I could write a book for my next report. Yes, you could. I do recall you telling me in a thread that we were talking on recently that you are not writing any books anymore. So I'm curious to know why your thoughts have changed since then. And if you can, make a report because it's documented. We'll do something with it. We'll get to your cases soon as we move across Canada. But I'm going to try my best not to identify you unless you want to be identified here. So, yeah, there's so much I didn't tell you yet. Yes, I'm aware. You don't have to tell me everything. I don't have time to get in the nitty-gritty of everybody's experience or case, but I want to encourage you, Lisa, to still make reports. It's helpful. Even if I don't use it, I get to understand things about you and stuff that you have experienced could help me understand some other things that are going on with the internal investigations, right? What I'm showcasing is what we put out to the public, but that's just the tip of the iceberg, as you know, right? Your book has more detail about your cases, right? And that's not our story to share. To share. That's your story, which is why I'm glad that you were able to publish your books. Unfortunately, the people you went with did cost you a pretty arm and a leg to get that published, but I hope you're satisfied with those results because you're a published author, and it's good. But please, Lisa, continue to make your reports. I need these reports to do my work. And if I don't have these reports, I couldn't do this. All right. Zun Dragon says, cool show. Anxious to watch about black-eyed children. Awesome. So we'll check, make sure you tune in next week. Same time, 5 p.m. Eastern time on Mondays. Have a great evening, Ryan. Thank you, sir. Talk to you. I said, sure. I don't know. Or I can't identify how you identify in the picture. So I apologize if you're not a sir. And Lisa says, just a report size of a book. Yeah. So, Lisa, you know me and you know my investigative process. You may have to sit down and report different elements within that experience. So if you see an extraterrestrial or Angie again, if she's involved and you're on a craft, I'm going to need you to make a report about those separate crafts. But just do one report, an index on the main event, and we'll help you split it up when we need to. We might be able to split it up as well. And I got Chris now, so I think I'm going to train Chris a little bit on reports on how to help me. All right. All right, thanks. I need glasses. I should be wearing glasses while I do these reports. I don't want to guess myself on these things here. But I'm looking at very tiny screens, so I got everything else in the background. It might be big on your big screen, so I apologize for that. Black-eyed children creep me out. Yeah, if you saw them at the edge of your bed, like this experiencer did. We'll talk about that next week. All right, so thank you, Lisa. I see Judy Campbell, Light Little Black Cat, Jimmy Edwin. I see that you've engaged. You've liked it on Facebook. So thank you for that like. If you guys have any questions, head out, check us out. All right, so I do have to end because I am on a limit of time. And I do have to say some things. So tomorrow night, Beyond the Tinfoil Hat with Danny Whitson. If you want to know the schedule for Beyond the Tinfoil Hat, you also can find that on our website. Let me just go back to normal here. There's your banner here. So he is talking to April Bussett, I believe, about Ghosted Magazine, haunted locations, and live readings. So you want to tune in to the Tessa channels and the UPNR channels tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern time to catch that. That's 3 p.m. Pacific. Remember, if you guys want to support me on Patreon, I do have a Patreon. You can join for free, but if you throw in some coins there, you get some extra stuff, and you help keep this program and many others free for other experiencers. So that's what you're contributing to. You can also follow me on Facebook. Make sure you make a report, all that fun jazz. And yeah. So thank you for tuning in for this episode of The Skeptical Sleuth. We're broadcasting live in the United Public Radio Network, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 FM, on the Gulf Coast at 107.7 FM in New Orleans. And we are also broadcasting live on social media. And the show was brought to you by the Experiencer Support Association. And remember that one lie is enough to question all truths. Thanks for watching. Keep your eyes in the sky. And as always, heed the world. We'll see you next week.
If you want to really, really find out about Ryan, ask him about all his work and UFOs in Ontario.
Ryan is one of Canada's leading new UFO investigators. He conducts and oversees UFO investigations on a constant basis. He's compiled a tremendous amount of data regarding UFOs in Canada.
I have used his research extensively. He's much more than a one-dimensional character. He's an authority on UFOs and investigating them, Meg.
Wow!
Really goes over how UFO investigations are done and what are some of the mistakes that people make when they submit evidence. For starters, don't edit your videos or photos before you send them.
He would come out with an annual report on not only the number of sightings, but how many were unexplained, unknown, or just, nothing could be said. What caused it?
If you want to hear more follow-up conversation between Ryan and myself, you can go to richardolanmembers.com, where we have a candid conversation on ufology, the paranormal, and more. And remember, while we learn and grow and search for the truth, let's be good to each other.